My name is Nick Webster. I'm the Key Accounts Coordinator with Fear Free, and I will be your webinar host this evening. Tonight's webinar is hosted by Fear Free Pets, where we take the pet out of petrified and put the treat back into treatment. Fear Free's mission is to alleviate fear, anxiety, and stress in pets by educating the people who care for them. You can follow us on Facebook and Instagram at Fear Free Pets. I know we have a lot of pet parents in the audience tonight, so another great resource for those of you tuning in is Fear Free Happy Homes. You can find us on social media at Fear Free Happy Homes or at fearfreehappyhomes.com, where you can find great tips and tricks for caring for the pets in your life. There, you can also find the Fear Free Happy Homes podcast, hosted by our lead animal trainer, Mikkel Becker. I want to thank you all for joining us for tonight's webinar, Preserving the Human-Animal Bond, Supporting Your Pet Through Common Stressors. Presenting in just a few minutes will be Dr. Jennifer Merlo. Dr. Merlo is Fear Free's Director of Veterinary Affairs and began her career in veterinary medicine in 2004 after graduating from Ohio State University with her Doctor of Veterinary Medicine. Initially focusing on equine medicine, Dr. Merlo soon delved into specializing in small animal general practice after moving to North Carolina in 2007. Dr. Merlo has been a supporter of Fear Free since its inception and has since become an elite certified Fear Free veterinarian, owned the first Fear Free certified practice in North Carolina, and spread the Fear Free movement amongst general practice and emergency and critical care clinics across North Carolina and South Carolina before joining the Fear Free team in 2021. For anyone just logging in, I want to welcome you to Preserving the Human-Animal Bond, Supporting Your Pet Through Common Stressors. One last reminder, there are two options on your Zoom controls, a chat feature, as well as a Q&A feature. We will have time at the end to address questions from the audience, so if you have a question, please use the Q&A box, otherwise it may get lost in the chat. A recording of tonight's presentation will also be available for all attendees within 2 weeks. Dr. Merlo, we're so excited to have you with us. So on that note, I'll pass it over to you and we'll go ahead and get started.
Thank you so much, Nick. I am so excited for this tonight and just so thrilled to see so many people logging on to join us. Really want to just give a big thanks to Covetrus Personalized Care Pharmacies for helping us to put on this webinar tonight. I think that there's going to be lots of great information for everyone from this. So I want to just expand a little bit on that great introduction that Nick gave. Like Nick said, I am originally from New Jersey. I joke I am an Italian girl from New Jersey, so I tend to talk with my hands a lot. Hopefully that won't distract anybody during the webinar tonight. I did go to the University of Delaware, graduated from there in 2000, and then went on to the Ohio State University, where I graduated in 2004. Like Nick said, I started my career off in equine medicine, but then switched over to small animal medicine, where I got to focus on really building relationships with my clients, learning a lot about companion animals, went on to do some emergency medicine as well, and then really got excited about Fear Free when it started in 2016. From that point on, that was really my big passion and my big focus in veterinary care was Fear Free. And so I went on to open a practice that was Fear Free certified. And then after that, I went on to do some relief work in the area and was able to bring Fear Free into emergency settings, general practice setting, urgent care, all over the Carolinas. And then I was lucky enough to join Fear Free about 2 years ago. When I'm not at work, I do have several animals and kids that keep me pretty busy. My husband and I there in the middle of the screen. I do have 3 kids. I have a black cat named Sammy, a tabby cat named Fat Cat, and that is aptly her name. And then we became victim to the pandemic puppy issue of COVID and brought home a wonderful Brittany Spaniel named Simon, who you can see there as well. I know I saw in the chat that we do have some chicken lovers as well in the audience, and I do have a couple of chickens of my own. I have never been a big bird person, but I certainly do love these chickens very much. So, really excited to be talking to you tonight about not only fear free, but the human animal bond as well. At the heart of everything we do at Fear Free, it's the desire to really enhance and create that bond with pets. Really want to formulate that and keep that going. Tonight, we're going to talk about the history of the human animal bond. We're going to talk about the positive effects of the human animal bond that we see in both people and in pets. We're going to talk about some common daily stressors that we see in pets and some tips and techniques to help create fear-free administration of medications and help reduce those stressors at home. I apologize that my slides seem to be on a timer, so I'm going to try to catch them as fast as I can as we're going through the webinar. I know it's a little bit distracting, but I will do my best to try to catch them as we're going. We're going to start by talking about the history of the human-animal bond. And the human-animal bond is different than any relationship we really have with any other species. That human-animal bond is defined as a mutually beneficial and dynamic relationship between people and animals that's influenced by behaviors essential to the health and well-being of both. This includes, among many things, the emotional, psychological, and physical interactions of people, animals, and the environment. According to research done by Bayer, the human-animal bond has actually evolved for over 15,000 years. And the one that we recognize today really began as a working relationship between animals and humans. It was one in which animals provided both protection and service to their caretakers. Examples would include things like utilizing dogs for herding, tracking, and protection, while cats were likely kept outdoors and used to hunt and kill rodents and varmints to prevent the spread of disease or damage to food supplies. The Smithsonian Institute reports that dogs were the first domesticated animals. Ancient Romans were actually known to keep toy dogs, and European royalty had garments designed with special pockets to facilitate carrying small dogs with them. Cats were even kept by ancient Egyptians as pets. And when a cat died, the owner would shave their eyebrows to signify the loss to other members of the community. That's how strong the bond was between the owner and the pet. Over 12,000 years ago, cats and dogs were actually buried alongside their owners, which supports the idea that pets and humans were bonded even then. Furthermore, we see that ancient art showcases animals, and that further strengthens the importance of this bond. There was a study done by Zoetis and the Human Animal Bond Research Institute, otherwise known as HABRI. And this study showed that the human animal bond remains strong and that pets positively impact their owner's health. In that survey, over 95% of pet owners considered pets as a part of their family, and almost 100% felt that they had experienced health benefits from having a pet in their life. The bonds between humans and animals can take many different forms. The first one that we often think about is pet ownership, and that's the one that most of us would relate to. Many people choose to share their lives with a companion animal. Oftentimes, this is a dog or a cat or maybe a small furry creature. Usually, we are interacting with our pets in an informal way in which joy is gained through that companionship. For others, the bond may be coming from an assistance animal. We know that people with disabilities often have the use of carefully trained and selected pets to assist them in life. And then we have working pets. And according to the United States Army Medical Department Journal, cavalry horses, sentry dogs, carrier pigeons, and even mascots were common military roles for animals. These animals provided not only protection to soldiers, but also offered stress relief and a sense of pride for their human counterparts. Studies have shown that the mental health benefits of pets that are provided to humans are being utilized more and more today. Doctors are prescribing pets for mental illness and wellness. We see teachers incorporating pets in the classroom for activities with students, and therapy dogs are utilized to help bring joy to those who are facing chronic illnesses. In fact, workplaces are becoming more pet-friendly to help reduce stress for their employees. Now, it's easy for me to think of a pet-friendly work environment because, of course, I was a veterinarian and I was in clinical practice, so animals were all around us. But it's interesting to me that even beyond that, into more corporate business settings, we're seeing workplaces become more pet-friendly. A study conducted by Nationwide in partnership with the Human Animal Bond Research Institute revealed that 90% of employees in pet-friendly workplaces felt highly connected to their company's mission. They felt fully engaged in their work, and they were willing to recommend their employer to others. That's in contrast to less than 65% of people in workplaces that are not pet-friendly. In addition, over 3 times as many employees report a positive working relationship with their boss and coworkers versus those who worked in non-pet friendly environments. The results of this study suggest that pet owners who are more knowledgeable of the human-animal bond form closer bonds at work. These pet owners are also more likely to identify a close attachment to their veterinarians compared to those pet owners who may not be as aware of the human-animal bond. So the next time you're in a work meeting and you're lobbying for change at your place of employment, here's a good thing to lobby for is make your place of employment more pet-friendly. According to the American Pet Products Association, the bond between people and pets goes beyond just companion animals. We see relationships between humans and all species, including birds, pocket pets, reptiles, food animals, and equines. I know I'm especially bonded to my silly chickens. Again, I was not a bird person. I've never been one to be overly bonded to a bird, but I will sit and cuddle with my chickens just as much as I will cuddle with my dog or my cats. Animal bonds can take the form of that dog or that cat curled up on your lap, to a friendly police horse. It can look like a gecko or a sugar glider or even a snake within your home that provides companionship and joy and a bond. So we are going to do a little bit of interaction now. I know that pretty much everybody that's joining us tonight probably has their cell phone handy, and there's this QR code on your screen. If you want to go ahead and scan that QR code, you will join slido.com, where you can then answer this question for us, because I'd love to know who we have on our call and what types of pets they have at home. While we're doing that, I am going to attempt to turn the timer off on my slides. So seeing lots of dogs, some cats. Love that we're getting some chicken people into. Lots of good people. Love chickens. Well, I'm not going to be able to get that turned off just now. We'll have to bear with the timer for a little bit longer. I do apologize. So lots of different animals being represented on our call tonight, which is great. Horses, farm animals, lots of different things across. So we can see that this human-animal bond is very widespread across species, which I love. So how do we create the bond with our pets? One of the first ways we can do that is by helping to create their own space within our home. Don't get me wrong. I love to spend time with my pets. There's nothing I enjoy more than cuddling up with that cute little Brittany Spaniel I showed you on the couch and watching a movie. But like us, pets need their own space too. Creating a unique space within the home or their living area so that they can achieve some alone time can actually help increase the bond they have with you. It may seem counterintuitive, but just think about how rejuvenated and recharged you can feel when you've had some alone time or you have your own space. This is really important for pets when they're exposed to house guests or when they're feeling overwhelmed or stressed. For a dog, this may look like creating a den space that is their safe place. That can be using a crate or an area of the house that's only for them. For cats, providing perching areas for them to get up and away and nap can help provide that space that they require. Touching our pets with purpose. So building a closer relationship with your pet often starts with physical touch. Paying attention to the areas that your pet likes to be stroked, scratched, or petted. When touching your pet, you want to do so with intention and purpose, making sure it's more than just a quick stroke across their head as they pass by. You really want to take time to focus on them and spend that one-on-one time with them. Consider this time a stress-reducing massage for them, and it's a way to let go of tension for you as well. Our pets will send us signals of where they enjoy being petted. Dogs will often lean into us or pull your hand over to continue petting them. Cats are notorious for rubbing up against you when they enjoy the attention you're giving them. Be sure to also watch for signs that they may not be enjoying that type of touch you're providing. Are their ears back and rigid? Are they moving away from you? Those are all signs that they're not enjoying that type of petting, and that can damage the bond long term if we don't pick up on those cues. Go on an adventure. Pets get bored just like we do. A great way to connect more deeply with our pets is to change up our routine every so often. Instead of the same neighborhood walk, maybe you try out a new or different hiking trail or greenway. Instead of the same trail ride with your horse, go to a horse-friendly park and ride them there. Taking your dog to a new surrounding allows them to explore different places and exposes them to new sights and sounds and stimulation. Spending time out in nature is not only a tension release for you, but it helps engage your pet's mental and emotional well-being. For indoor cats, inspire their sense of adventure with new hideaways such as cardboard boxes, or create a peekaboo tunnel for them to explore. Try out a new type of treat in a toy for them to play with. Just that simple action of upgrading your pet's toys and treat offerings can inspire a stronger bond with you. In addition, the way we behave affects our bond with our pets and vice versa. We know that positive communication is the key to a strong relationship, and that's true with our pets as well. When we're acting negatively, or speaking in harsh tones or harsh words, the pets pick up on that, and that can negatively affect the bond that we're creating with them. So what are the effects of the human-animal bond that we can see? Using that QR code again, we're going to do this in a little interaction again. You'll have the ability to write in and answer now, and we'll start to see them pop up on the screen. So what positive effects do you see for yourself from owning a pet? I know for me, I love to just chill out with my pets. They bring me joy. I hate to keep referencing the chickens, but I have such joy going out to their coop every morning. So happiness, we're seeing people writing joy, adventures, comfort and focus, calming. So you'll notice with this, the more times people write in the same word, those words will get bigger on the screen. So we're seeing a lot of calmness, joy, happiness. So it's very obvious that our pets are bringing so much goodness to our lives, which is amazing. I can't imagine my life without animals in it. And I'm sure because you're on this webinar tonight, most of you would say the same thing. So I love this. Joy and calm, acceptance. These are all such great answers. I'm so glad to see that animals bring everyone so much universal joy and happiness. So interacting with pets, we know, has health benefits as well. It can actually lower blood pressure. It reduces stress. It raises oxytocin levels, which make us happier, and it actually reduces pain. There was a study from Sweden that looked at the effects of pet ownership on cardiovascular health in people. And dog owners are 15% less likely to die from heart disease than non-dog owners. Pets also offer benefits to our elderly community. Those with underlying conditions can often be exacerbated by loneliness. Interacting with pets not only helps reduce those health concerns, but provides positive mental and physical benefits. We see for children, pets can offer support during emotional, cognitive, social, and behavioral development as well. So my next question then is, what positive effects do you see in your pets because of the bond you have with them? So thinking about what positive things do we see our pets show us because they have that bond with us? Trust, wags, I love it. There's nothing better than when you come home and your pet is just excited to see you. My cats will come and greet me at the door. The dog, of course, yapping his head off, jumping around the couch. The chickens are always happy to see me too, because it usually means food. I will say I also work with horses on a regular basis, and just hearing them nicker when I come in the barn just makes me so glad that they're excited to see me. They're less fearful, they're relaxed. I love all these answers. Cuddling, unconditional love. These are great. So yeah, we do see those positive effects in our pets as well, which is great to know that the relationship is not one-sided, right? They're getting as much of a benefit from this bond as we are. So we see that pets can have medical benefits as well. They have lower heart rates, reduced stress, and they have improved moods. Additionally, pets get their needs met through that bond with us. They don't have to worry about food, shelter, water. They're taken care of when they have that good bond with their human. So let's think about some sources of stress for pets. We can see lots of different sources of stress for our pets. Many of them have the potential of encountering on a daily basis when we stop and think about it. So noise is a cause of stress for our pets. It can be easily encountered within the home setting, but really anytime they move outside of the house as well. This is especially important when we're thinking about pet care settings. And it doesn't just have to be at the veterinary office. If you think about going to the groomer, going to daycare and boarding, going to a trainer, all of those things have a large noise component to them. And that can really be stressful for them. And when we have those high levels of stress, it can ultimately damage that bond that we create with them. Isolation and separation. This can be related to other housemates, or maybe it's related to separation from you as their owner. I know a lot of pets are very bonded to other pets within the home. And so we see that when one pet is removed from a situation, we can see a spike in stress in the other one. This can be a very common source of stress daily, and again, within the pet care setting. Lack of food and water. These are often kind of overlooked as a source of stress. We just think of these as basic needs that our pets have. But when a pet can't get to food, or it's not available to them for whatever reason, whether it be we don't have it, they can't get to it, or a housemate is keeping them from it, that can be very, very stressful. Again, lack of water. This is something that's often not thought of in pet care settings, whether, again, be the veterinary setting or some other sort of pet care setting. We want to make sure that we advocate that our pets are given food and water access anytime they're not within our care. Unfamiliar surroundings is a given when a pet leaves their home setting. But we also want to think of that within the home as well. Are you doing renovations within the home? Is there new furniture, or have we moved the furniture around? We understand that we've just rearranged things, but our pet may not, and it may become unfamiliar to them. Perhaps the pet suddenly is in a new area within the home. This is something I heard of often when I was in clinical practice, when pets were allowed new access to a new room in the house that they previously had not been in. We understand that now this is just the dining room of the house, and maybe they haven't been in that before, but to them, it's an entirely new place. It's all unfamiliar. It's stressful, it's exciting. But if it leads to stress that damages that bond, we have to be aware of that. Conflict with other animals. And this can be a brief encounter with a pet. It can even just be visualization of another animal. Maybe it's through a window in the home. I often think of cats when they are indoors and maybe there's a neighborhood cat that goes outside, or a stray cat that might come through the backyard, or maybe comes by a window. If your cat is not accustomed to seeing other cats, that can be very stressful for them. These encounters with other animals can lead to fear responses, which can damage that human-animal bond. Think about if you were a gecko and you were taken to a veterinary office by your caretaker, and while you're waiting in your cage, there's a predator species that's nose to nose with you at that cage. That's going to create a very long-lasting fear response, and you may not remain as bonded to your caregiver after that experience. One of the more common and most easily identifiable sources of stress for our pets is any type of transport. We know that they have to leave our home eventually to get some sort of care, but that actual movement from the home to wherever they need to go is stressful. There's different noises, it smells different, there's motion. All of these can lead to a fear response and a stress response. The good news is transport is one area where we can take an active role to reduce stress and anxiety. And I encourage all pet owners to openly consult with your veterinary and pet care professionals when you're talking about transport to their locations. If your pet gets anxious in the car, whether it be that they are panting more, if they're a dog, perhaps they're pacing around in your car and can't seem to be comfortable. Maybe it's a cat that meows the entire time they're in the car. Those are all examples and signs that they are stressed and not enjoying that time. So talk to your veterinarian, talk to your pet care professionals. If you have exotics, if you have birds, talk to them about the best way to transport them that's going to reduce stress. Smells within and outside the home can also lead to fear and stress responses. Oftentimes, we try to make things smell the way we would like them to smell. I know I am a big advocate of candles in my home. I'm not always sure that my pets like that as much as I do, and we need to take that into consideration. What we enjoy, what we think smells good, and this is especially important when we're cleaning things, what smells very clean to us may actually be very offensive and cause a fear response in our pets. Strangers and visitors and handling, I think we all know that those are going to cause damage to the bond that we have with our pet. They are a significant source of stress, both within our home and in the pet care setting. The other area where we see stress coming from for our pets is actually from ourselves. We can produce signs of stress in our pets because of the stress that we feel about them. There's lots of published articles and studies outlining the health benefits of pet ownership, but there's less about the anxiety that we feel as a pet owner. We know that there's correlations between pet ownership and higher anxiety because of the responsibilities associated with owning that pet. This became very clear during the pandemic, and many pet owners surveyed noted that they were anxious about leaving their pet alone for extended periods of time. They were anxious about finding appropriate and adequate veterinary care, how to pay for veterinary bills and pet care bills, how to handle chronic illnesses that may be associated with their pets. Pet owners tend to be anxious about the length of their pet's lifespan compared to their own. And these different sources of stress for us can spill over and affect our pets. And while we're trying to create a bond with them, these types of stressors can actually harm that bond in the long run. So how do we notice signs of stress in our pets? I think we're pretty good at picking up on signs of stress in other people, but what do our pets do to show us that they're stressed? So some signs of stress that we see in our pets can be anything that I've listed here. Some of them are very obvious and some are more subtle. So I think we all can recognize when a dog is stressed in a very obvious way. They will growl, they will bark. Oftentimes their ears will be back, their tail might be tucked. But some more subtle signs may be that their pupils are dilated. Maybe they're yawning at a time that it doesn't really seem appropriate. Maybe they're licking their lips constantly, but they're not they don't have an upset stomach. They're not nauseous, but they're just constantly licking at their lips. A lot of times our dogs will tell us things through the position of their ears and where that tail is. I always tell people a wagging tail doesn't mean a happy dog. A dog can wag their tail, but if it's staying below the top of their body line, that's a more stressed dog than a dog who's wagging their tail and it's raised up above their body line. Cats, we know a stressed cat when it's hissing and trying to swat at us, but they often show more subtle signs as well. Cats are notorious for showing signs of stress through grooming changes. So maybe they're excessively grooming themselves, or maybe they've stopped grooming altogether. Maybe their appetite has changed and they're not eating as well. Perhaps, again, position of their ears and their whiskers will tell us a lot. A cat that's tucked up very tight and keeping their tail wrapped around their body is a cat that's experiencing some stress. A cat that's relaxed will lay with their legs out, soft sort of expression on their face, and they'll welcome you to pet them. So it's important that we start to pick up on some of these more subtle cues that our pets are showing us so that we know when they are stressed. So I mentioned that we encounter daily sources of stress, and our pets do as well. So I want to make mention of a few so that you can be aware of some of those things when you're thinking about your own pets. Nutrition and pets. It's a hot topic, and it's one that evokes lots of emotions for us. For most pet owners, those emotions can manifest as hesitation, maybe frustration, anxiety, suspicion, worry. As pet owners, we all want to feed our pets the best food, but more importantly, for me as a veterinary professional, I want to talk to pet owners about whatever food their pet is going to eat. A food is no good if the pet won't eat it. So there's no one correct answer when it comes to what to feed your pet. I encourage pet owners to speak openly and honestly about food choices and the impact that they have on the pet at home. Talking to veterinary and pet care professionals and getting good advice from knowledgeable sources so that you can make the best decision. Beyond the type of food chosen, the act of feeding can also lead to stress when a pet's meals are utilized to deliver medication. Oftentimes, this is a first choice because many times it's there, it's available, and we associate that with being able to deliver medication. But many pets, particularly cats, will become food aversive when attempts are made to utilize the food to hide the medication. This can actually lead to additional sources of stress for both the pets and the pet owner, who now is struggling maybe to deliver medication. And now they have a pet who doesn't want to eat. We're going to talk about an option for that as we get a little bit further along. But that can be a source of stress when you're dealing with your pet and trying to give medication. Additionally, actual meal time can lead to stress in pets. I mentioned earlier that a lack of food can be a source of stress. Making sure that they have food in a setting where they can actually eat it is very important. The social dynamics within the home between other pets, the type of food selected, the place where the pet actually eats the food. Maybe there's human-pet interaction around that time. There's lots of factors that go into mealtime that can either lead to positive or negative associations for the pet. For some pets, there's medical issues leading to the stress surrounding mealtime. Perhaps it's a food intolerance. We think of things like food allergies or inflammatory bowel disease, where a pet actually will feel unwell when they try to eat something. That certainly would make me stressed and make me not want to eat. We can have things like dental issues or pain in the mouth or jaw. It's important to remember that eating is a normal requirement for pets. And so when we have times where pets are not eating well, or they go lengths of time without eating at all, it's really important to check with a medical professional, check with your pet care professional to rule out a medical condition first. For some pets, we actually do see anxiety around the mealtime. Maybe there's a conflict with another pet in the home and they challenge each other for who gets to eat first. Maybe one pet bullies the other for food. I see this often in equine patients when they're fed together in paddocks. At the barn where I frequent, there are a couple of horses where they will bully each other over food. So one of them has to eat really fast so that he can eat before the other two come over and try to steal his food. This is easily identifiable as a source of stress for him around mealtime. Especially for cats, we know that mealtime in nature would mean hunting and gathering. It's a very active process for cats instinctively. So when we're offering food to them in a bowl, that can become boring for them. And we've identified that boredom can be a source of anxiety and stress. For cats, I think one of the best things that we can do is offer some sort of interactive feeder during meal times to reduce that boredom, reduce that stress associated with eating. As pet owners, when you speak to your veterinary and pet care professionals, be sure to mention not only what you're feeding your pet, but where you're feeding them. Take a few minutes to explain the normal mealtime routine and the social dynamic that you observe, if there is one. It's important to really evaluate the whole mealtime experience for your pet, including if that area is accessible. Is it quiet? Is it relaxing? Does your pet have to compete to get to their food? For pets with chronic illnesses where we're administering medication, we want to try to make attempts to separate that medication from meal times so that they are not putting those two things together. So there's options out there, and I encourage you to talk to your veterinary professionals. There are compounding pharmacies like Covetrus, where we have the ability to make medications that are palatable, they're easy to give, and we don't have to utilize their meal. So it reduces that stress associated with giving them medication. Routine and separation. So we talked about this a little bit, and this is something that really we knew about before the pandemic, but boy, did this bring it to light. We know that pets are by nature creatures of habit, and they thrive on routine. A 2020 study from the Royal Veterinary College in the UK found that 41% of pet owners noticed changes in their pets' behavior during the pandemic. And this was particularly true of dogs. We saw a lot more separation anxiety for pets during this time. Of course, people were home more. And then when they were not anymore, pets really struggled with that change in routine. If you think about it, our pets like to know when they're going to be fed. They like to know when they should be let out, go for a walk, when they might have some entertainment, when they might have some interaction with their human owners. When our daily routines change, it can really cause stress for them. So we want to do what we can to create and maintain routines with our pets so that we can help reduce their stress for them and ensure that we get to spend quality time with them each day. I know, personally speaking, my dog, Simon, he is by far a creature of habit. If we do not take our walk every day, not only does his energy level go up, but his stress level goes up as well. So he's a good reminder for me to get out and moving, but I can definitely see a difference in him when I don't stick to that routine for him. We talked about visitors and travel. And like I mentioned earlier, pets are going to have to leave our home. There's not too many pets that don't eventually leave the home at some point, whether it's to get any sort of pet care or certainly veterinary care. We said travel definitely causes stress for them due to the motion of the vehicle. We have things like potential car sickness, different noises, there's exposure to different smells and sights and surroundings. By exposing pets to travel routines early on when they're young or when you first acquire them, you can create positive associations and thereby reduce stress in the long run. Fear-Free Happy Homes provides a great resource on how to make travel easier for our pets, which in turn makes the experience more enjoyable for us. In addition, when our pets encounter new people or pets, whether it's within the home or outside of it, we really want to reduce the potential for unwanted stress. Not every pet wants to make a new friend, so we have to be sure to be cognizant of those signs of stress our pets are exhibiting during those interactions. That's where some of those subtle signs really come out, and you can start to notice in your pets, and particularly dogs, because those are the ones that tend to want to greet each other when you're out on walks or at the park. But if you start to pay attention to where your pet's ears are, what does their tail look like? What are they doing? Are they freezing before that other dog comes up to them? Are they backing away slowly? Do they lift one paw up? All of those things can be very subtle signs that they are uncomfortable with the situation. When we have visitors coming into our home, we want to make sure we provide a safe place for pets to retreat to if they're not interested in meeting new people or pets. Again, very important for cats to have a way to get away. Cats often like to go up to hide, but making sure that they have somewhere that they can escape if they don't want to be around someone. Utilizing things like body harnesses or labels on carriers that let others know that your pet may not be looking to make new friends that day can really help decrease the chance of an unwanted encounter. When you take your pet to a veterinary or a pet professional building, be sure to let the staff know of their preferences for people and other animals. The pet professionals and the veterinary professionals will thank you for doing that. It's okay to advocate for your pet if they don't want to be around another animal. That way they can make sure that your entrance and your exit from the building can be encounter-free and stress-free for everyone. Along those lines too, if we know that travel causes stress for your pets, I encourage you to advocate again in talking to your veterinarian pet professionals about potential pharmaceutical options for them. Covetrus Personalized Care Pharmacies has lots of options in terms of medications for travel that can reduce that stress for your pet so that they can go with you places and it can be enjoyable for everyone. The litter box is a common source of stress for feline patients. We often see causes like dirty litter boxes. Maybe the litter box is too small or it's hard to reach. It's hard for them to get to. Maybe it's in a high traffic area, or worse yet, it's in a really noisy area that they don't want to go to. I am definitely guilty of, before I knew better, having a litter box in the laundry room of my house. And if you think about the laundry room, it's a pretty loud area. And my cats probably did not like having it in there. Scented cat litter is a great example of picking something that smells good to us, but doesn't smell good to our pets. So I definitely encourage pet owners to choose litter that is not scented because it's probably better for your pet in the long run. Changes in the home can also cause changes to the litter box habits and can cause stress. And of course, there's always medical conditions that can lead to litter box stress. It's important to really evaluate the setup that you create in your home if you have a cat companion. Again, we want to make sure it's not just pleasing for us, but arguably it's more important that it's pleasing to them and doesn't lead to long-term stress. Talk to your veterinary care team and your pet care team about your cat's litter box habits, the location, and any unusual signs that you may notice associated with the litter box. And again, Fear-Free Happy Homes has great information on litter box choices and how to set your cat up for success using it. I would say one of the number one causes of stress for pet owners with aging pets or pets that get diagnosed with a chronic illness is how to give that medication long-term. This administration of the medication is really a source of stress, and it can affect the compliance on the medication at home. A study showed that less than 30% of pet owners actually gave medications the way they were supposed to be given. And that's really just because they were not educated on how to give the medication. They didn't have an honest conversation about the type of medication, how often it would need to be given, how complex the treatments were. As pet owners, it's important to discuss with your pet's veterinary team and pet care team just the overall logistics of giving medication at home. How your pet has been for medications before can be very important information for your pet care team to know about. And that way they can give you the best options to make the experience less stressful for you and for them. So how can we administer medications without stress? This is not just going to affect pets that have long-term illnesses. There's going to be a point in every pet's life where they're going to need some sort of medication, whether it be preventatives or for an illness or an injury. We really want to rethink how medications are given. I mentioned earlier, Covetrus Personalized Care Pharmacies offers lots of options of how medications can be delivered to pets. And this is something I definitely recommend that you speak with your veterinary care team about. There's often lots of commercially available medications, but they're not always easy to give. And again, we want to reduce that stress. So talk to your veterinarian, talk to your pet care team, ask for the different options. Tell them that you've heard that there may be ways to give them that are less stressful, and see what works for your pet. It may be a little bit of trial and error to figure out whether they like a particular flavor or a particular way that the medication is formulated. But by doing this, we have lots of different options. Fear-Free Happy Homes, again, provides a number of resources on how to give oral medications in a fear-free manner. We also have lots of videos outlining how to administer topical medications, eye medications, ear medications in a way that'll help reduce fear, anxiety, and stress in both the pets and you. I also recommend creating a treatment spot. And this is a specific spot in the home for administering medications and creating a positive association. And it's really helpful when you can make that medication administration fear-free. I recommend creating a treatment spot long before you're ever faced with having to give a medication. This is something that if you get a young pet, you can start to train them on. However, if you acquire an older pet, you can teach them new tricks, and you can teach them what a treatment spot is like. You can utilize this area when you're applying or giving monthly medications like heartworm or flea or tick prevention. I definitely recommend picking a comfortable spot and begin to work on creating that positive association by offering really good high value treats in that area. So find the thing that they love the most, and that's what they get when they're in this area. And I would use that treat specifically for this area. If your pet is not food motivated, find out what does motivate them. Maybe it's playtime and they get a special toy when they're in that spot. Maybe they like to be groomed. Brushing works really well for cats a lot of times. So maybe they go into that spot and you pull out that brush and they know that they're going to get a relaxing spa treatment. By creating this loving and comfortable atmosphere, your pet will be less likely to be suspicious or stressed out when they enter the treatment area, and administering medication will be met with less stress and less fear. Collaborate with your veterinarian pet professional team. Utilize the fear-free resources that we have at Fear-Free Happy Homes to reduce stress for your pet. They have lots of videos, handouts that are really great, not only for reducing stress at the veterinary care center, but at home, during travel, as well as in pet care professional settings. In addition, we do have our Fear-Free directory, which allows you to find a Fear-Free certified professional in your area. And again, that can be a veterinary professional or a pet professional. At the end of the day, the human-animal bond is only as strong as we continue to make it. And we want to reduce stress every day for our pets because in the long run, it's going to reduce stress for us. I hope that tonight we've given you some ideas on some things that you can do to help reduce stress in your pets every day and provided some information to help you feel empowered about creating those moments at home, at the veterinary care professional, and at the pet care professional. I would love to answer any questions that we may have.
Thank you so much, Dr. Merlo, for that wonderful presentation. I know I definitely want to go give my dog a snuggle now. As you said, we do have time for just a few questions. It looks like we did get a few messages from people in the audience asking about the compounding options, and that was with Covetrus Personalized Care Pharmacies. I put a link in the chat for anyone interested. Please feel free to check that out. As for Q&A, that is open for anyone who has questions. Please put them in the Q&A box, otherwise they may get lost in the chat. But first question is from Lori. Lori is the primary caregiver for their pets. Excuse me, trying to word this in a succinct way. Provides some more of the, I suppose, stress-inducing but necessary care items such as grooming, vet visits, that sort of thing. And they are wondering if you have any suggestions for how you can help strengthen that bond when sometimes it can be impacted by these stress-inducing activities.
Yeah, so definitely can understand that. I would say in my household, I tend to be the one who has to, give the medications or do the things that sometimes can be the like not so fun things for the pets. I really just try to balance it between, doing the maybe things that are not quite as enjoyable, making sure I'm creating positive associations around that. So lots of treats, lots of good times afterwards, and then balancing that with spending quality time with them that doesn't have anything to do with any of those things that may be stress inducers for them. It's definitely a balancing act, making sure that we're just incorporating lots of positivity into any of the routine things, whether it's bathing, grooming, nail trimming, giving the medications, whatever it is, we want to make it positive, and then making sure we spend some good quality time as well.
Great, thank you. Let's see. I may or may not have an answer to this question. Someone was asking if you have any tips for rabbits specifically, or maybe small animals in general.
Yeah. So rabbits, in terms of giving medication or just handling, I think the biggest thing is, again, positive associations. So rabbits do like to be held a little bit more securely. I do like to wrap them up in a little bit of a towel to make them feel a little bit more secure, create that positive association again, make sure I have really good food treats for them, something that they really like. The nice thing with them is that a lot of times they are food motivated because they have to eat all the time. So it makes it a little bit easier as long as we can offer them some treats. Beyond that, I don't have any specific recommendations, but I would love to, Nick, if you are able to get that person's email address, I can definitely follow up with them.
Absolutely, thank you. I know we touched on this a little bit. Any other tips for helping reducing stress for cats and dogs, specifically during travel?
Yeah, so both of those will benefit from, number one, climate control in your car. So one of the things that I think most pet owners don't realize is that, especially for cats, it takes about 10 or 15 minutes for them to adjust to a new surrounding. And if you think about if you put your cat in the car and you didn't warm it up yet, so they're going from your nice warm house in the wintertime to a cold car, or vice versa, nice cool house in the summertime to a hot car. So I definitely recommend climate controlling your car. So getting the car ready to match the climate that they're coming out of, that will help reduce stress. Music choice. A lot of times we choose the music that we want to listen to in the car. Again, I have been very guilty of this in my life, of listening to what I want to listen to. That's not necessarily calming for our pets. We have done studies that have shown that classical music or reggae music are the two types of music that our pets really like. So I like to have that on at a modest volume. We don't need to crank it all the way up, but just have it on in a nice volume because that will definitely help them as well. Dogs really do prefer to be secured in the car, whether that be in a carrier for a small dog, or if you have a larger dog, I would make sure that they either are in a harness seatbelt or secured somewhere in the car so that they are not slipping and sliding around. That loss of traction and feeling like they're falling is definitely going to make them stressed. And then cats, the best place for a cat to be is in their carrier on the floor behind either the driver or the passenger side, just on that floorboard, not on the back seat, bench, or anything like that. You want to put them nicely on the floor. That has the least amount of shifting and motion for them in the car. So all of those things, if you take those into account, can really help reduce stress. And then if they're still stressed, I definitely encourage you to talk to your veterinary care professionals about what other medications, pharmaceuticals can be utilized to help reduce that travel stress.
Makes sense. Thank you.
Yeah.
Let's see here. I'm seeing a few questions about whether or not we will provide a copy of this presentation. We typically don't provide the slides, but we will provide a recording of this webinar that will be available within 2 weeks. Just want to make sure everyone got that. And then let's see. I think we have time for just one more question.
Yeah.
So this one is specifically asking about muzzles, and if there
Yeah.
is a way to reduce stress when introducing muzzles
Yeah.
to
Absolutely.
dogs.
Absolutely. So I think, unfortunately, and muzzles are often used as a last resort or at a moment when they're absolutely necessary. And I strongly advise, and when I was in practice, I advised all my dog owners, even if they have the best, happiest puppy, I would encourage them to start doing some muzzle training. And it doesn't have to be a puppy, any age dog you can do this with. There's some great resources on Fear Free Happy Homes, as well as the Muzzle Up Project. But some of the simplest things, I definitely recommend a basket muzzle versus a traditional kind of nylon over the nose muzzle. A basket muzzle allows a dog to pant, and that in and of itself helps reduce stress by them being able to pant. Also, they can take treats and they can drink through a basket muzzle. The nice thing about that is if you have a food motivated dog, I strongly encourage starting to utilize that to your advantage when training them to wear a muzzle. So I like to start working their way up by putting some yummy treats. I like to use peanut butter as long as there's no food allergies with anybody that's interacting with the dog and the dog itself, or spreadable cheese, like the cheese, in a can, and put that on the muzzle and start getting them used to it. They can lick it from the outside of the muzzle first and then slowly work up to having them put their nose in the muzzle, maybe get a little lick of something, take their face out of the muzzle. It's going to be a stepwise process. So I definitely don't expect the dog to just from day one, be able to put the muzzle on and be okay. But there are little tips and tricks you can do, and it takes some time and patience, but you can work them up to accepting that muzzle. Just have to figure out what they're motivated by and work with that.
Great. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
I did want to say thank you again to Dr. Merlo, and thank you to our friends at Covetrus Personal Care Pharmacies for making tonight's webinar possible. Lastly, thank you to everyone in the audience for joining us tonight. Please be sure to follow us on social media at Fear Free Pets. You can also subscribe to our newsletter at fearfreepets.com for invitations to future presentations. We hope everyone here has a great evening, and we look forward to seeing you next time.